Alright, it is April the 5th, 2021, and if I sounded a bit strange in yesterday's video, the first video that I made, my voice was kind of weird. It's just because I was accepted in the trading challenge and I still had to do the interview. So the interview was great. I don't know, I think I did great. I seem to have already known most of what the challenge was about. Not everything, of course, but main ideas about it. And I already learned a lot of things, specifically with what I'm doing with number 5 setups. So LTNC would be a potential one today, but I'm just gonna play things very cautiously. Don't know how the week will start, but just to add a few notes for the number 5 setup that I've already learned just by being in the challenge. Things I didn't take into consideration. One thing is to just don't always completely rely on level 2 because you might miss out or be too early, and that's clearly happened. And I've gone into like LTNC the other day. It just didn't work out at the moment. The price action didn't look that good anymore, so I immediately got out. And you might just say, oh well, then you just try again later. You just try again every single time until it actually bounces. But maybe by the time that happens, you're just mentally exhausted and you just don't want to do it anymore, and you miss out. Of course, another thing to look at, support resistance. I like looking at, for example, a 20-day chart of the stock just to see where it might potentially hold. It doesn't have to, it just gives you some kind of an idea. I've already done that, but I did start to look at that less and just solely rely on level 2. So that's something to take into consideration. And well, this was for Michael Good's webinar. He says at least 20%. I like looking at stuff, anything that's over 10. That doesn't mean I'll trade it if it's under just 10, but it has to be at least 10 to be something that I'll look at. But I agree with that, honestly, at least 20% for a trade, although I look at anything that's more than 10 just to see if it starts to develop even more. One thing I didn't consider, panic selling below the bid. So when you start seeing like those, it's not like a red, it's like a really solid red print. That's just people getting desperate. And this was the best point that I never really considered about it. Fading volume is actually, I'll have to look at this personally, but I can understand how that can be a thing when you are in a number 5 setup, and this has happened to me before, and I see like the volume is starting to fade. I almost look at it as a bad thing because I'm saying, alright, the volume is fading, there's going to be less buying because the volume is just less than what it used to be. It might not do much more, then I get out of my position. I've never considered the idea that maybe the volume is fading not because there are less buyers, but the volume is fading because there are less sellers. There are less people who are dumping their shares because it's down 10, 15, 20, 40%, whatever it is. So when you see all of that volume going away, it's not necessarily a bad thing, or at least I'm going to look at it now with this mindset and see how it goes with that. I'm going to assume that's pretty much the way it is. I've clearly remember, not exactly the stock, but I remember missing some number 5 setups, not getting the meat of the move because I see the volume fading and I say, okay, there's going to be less buying, it's going to start dropping perhaps, or consolidation. It's just not going to do what I want, but it does. So I think that could already help me a lot. I just have like a notepad with some notes I got from some of the webinars. That's really the biggest part because it just went over the strategy that I'm into. I'm going to be looking at listed stocks more, and even though I like to shit on the VWAP, if too many people look at the VWAP, that I just have to take that into consideration. I have to look at the VWAP. Sometimes the VWAP is absolutely useless, but when it's not useless, it seems to be helpful. So I'll have to do all these things, take them into consideration. I feel a lot of pressure, but I think it's a good pressure. I'm just going to try to take things as easily as possible. I do feel more serious, much more dedicated this whole stock market thing because I'm in a challenge. I have to study a lot more. I've kind of upped from my average of 2 hours of studying per day to now. Of course, I have to keep it going. It's only been like 3 days since I joined the challenge, and that was over the weekend. And Friday was a day that was not for trading. About 4 hours and 30 minutes a day, but I have to continue that. I cannot burn out. I cannot, have a huge ego or anything like that. I just have to be as cautious as I can as possible. And quite frankly, I'm already doing that naturally. Pretty anxious about it, but we'll see. This is a long introduction. Sorry about that. VBH. I don't know if I'll be looking at this today. It's kind of dried up. It had a spike yesterday, but that was the most it did. It wasn't really successful after that. TKAT, I'll just look at it. Ideally, it could have like a big green day or something, but maybe not, just because it's just dropping. It's not dropping like a lot, so it could have a nice green day. LTNC, I'll be looking at this for a number 5. Ideally, it cracks this 65 level. It doesn't kind of max panic. CEMI, I actually considered buying this. I just didn't do it. Could have been a good setup. This one actually worked out. It was a very nice and simple 560 hold. This was a high right here, kind of dropped, came back to the level, breakout over that level. And if you look at today, where's that 560 level? I think it was right here when I was looking at it. I don't remember the exact level now. It might have been it was the 540s, not the 560s. When it broke that 540 and then it dropped right here. Was it here? I don't remember anymore. It was like a confirmed breakout setup. It actually ended up working, which surprised me because these things are very choppy, but that's just the way they are, and I have to get used to choppy listed stocks. Some of them are OTCs too, just because I have to I guess be the best that I can. So yeah, I'm gonna call it off right here. Really just looking at LTNC the most. I'm gonna have to look at more stocks, just take things more seriously, much more seriously, and we'll see how we go from here. Okay, it's 9:36 a.m. FTXP is having his first green day from being burned with that other trade. I probably won't consider this for any dip buy setups unless it's like a confirmed breakout, and this could try to break this 105-ish high, but 1 is going to be a level of resistance too. It's already having to deal with it. It could do it. It could also fail. It could be a short. I can't short, but that could be a short idea. CEMI, nothing I want to trade here. AAGC. It's the first day too. It looks like it's trying as well, but I don't see anything too interesting. The volume doesn't look that nice right now. LTNC, yes, it had this drop, but it just wasn't dropped that. It didn't drop that much. It just didn't drop that much for me to really be interested. I just want to play things extra cautiously. There were a lot of people on the ask as well. There was like 1 million share seller at the ask, but there was just these big green blocks of buying action that pushed it away. So very nice price action. Could have bought it in theory, but it just didn't drop that much. 82 to 75. Maybe I'm being greedy, but it just didn't drop that much. It never went red on the day either. So that's the state that I'm in right now. I don't see anything that I want to immediately trade, although FTXP looks interesting. However, if it doesn't try breaking the day high or something like that, it might just be just a pure rejection. Okay, it's 9:41. I wanted to make a point. It looks like that theory is pretty true. I wanted to see it for myself, and it applied very nicely here. This is probably when I would have considered selling had I have bought this stock here, and it looks very impressive because the volume is fading, and it's true, the volume faded. Alright, now maybe this one in theory isn't an exact science because it's not like there were people panic selling because they were down on their position, maybe because they were up on their position and they wanted to sell at the market open. But the volume clearly faded, but we're still seeing a nice uptrend now at 82 from 75. I just don't really regret this. I never liked the ones that have this price action because it was gapping up, so it just had a gap and crap. I'm just curious, did it like bounce out? I guess it wouldn't be a bad idea because it bounced towards a level of support. So I'll consider a setup like this in the future just because of that. Even though it's not like a big 15-20% drop, max panic, dip buy opportunity, June 30th CYDY setup. It had a nice drop towards a level of support. Of course it didn't have to hold, but it did. That would have been something to play off of, and that's exactly the case here. Now it's at 82. I'll definitely consider dip buying these types of setups just for that reason. And there we go, we have that fading volume, although we now have some more selling here, but it would have allowed me to hold from maybe 80 to the 81s, 82s, and maybe in another setup, you know, like some that I've traded before, would have helped me be more profitable on that setup. FTXV, I missed it. I would have bought this dip here at 90 just because of the fact that it was like a level of support. Where is this FTXV? Right here. Not really perfect, but this was somewhat a level of support, and it kind of dropped there. It held that level. You could have saw a 20-day chart and say, okay, well, maybe it'll hold this level here, and it did that. Now it's at 1. We'll see if it breaks. The high is 105, so it'll have to move more. CEMI is doing the classic NASDAQ, fading the rest of the day. Price action so far. AAGC again, it wasn't really going to trade. It didn't like it too much. It's the first green day. It could maybe try to break this high here. That would be impressive. And I guess just a repeat of what that other stock was. I guess the support to play off of will be 85. In theory, this one didn't really do it. It dropped at 70, but we'll see. I will be watching this, but nothing I really want to trade with it at the moment. I'll just have to keep looking, but this is the state that I'm at right now. I'll make an update later. Okay, it's 9:52 a.m. Want to make a quick update on a trade here I had with FTXP. So what is this? This is the first, well, it's not really a first green day, but it's like the first breakout attempt over this previous level right here. The top is roughly, what is it? I'd say 105. So the idea is that I missed it right here. I just wasn't here when this action happened, but it did a nice breakout. This is a confirmed, ideally this was a theory, a confirmed breakout setup, and I thought, okay, well, it broke past this 105 level, even had a nice wick here. It had a down wick here too, which is kind of weird. Maybe that was a misprint. Again, I wasn't really here when I saw this. It already happened. So 105, holding 105, risk off 105, and the idea is that maybe we'll get a follow-up spike to sell into. Maybe it'll be a nice massive breakout. We just didn't get that price action. I did not like the price action at all. It wasn't good price action eventually, so I sold based on that reason. And if I go back, I went ahead and I bought. It got filled at 107, so I was here at 107 again, just holding this 105 level. Didn't like the price action. There was a nice million share bidder at 105. He was kind of taken out. It didn't seem like he was there anymore. There weren't that many people on the ask at the time, but again, there was a lot of dumping on the bid. I didn't like the price action, so I immediately got out at 105, and I actually got out at 9:52, the same minute that this thing dropped to 98. So again, that was pretty good, cutting losses quickly right there just based on price action. Didn't like the price action. Had I waited for 105 to break, that would have been worse. Again, that's why I like trading based off of price action, when to cut a trade, not necessarily a level to risk off of. Maybe when I'm a lot more consistent and a lot more money, if that ever happens, I'll trade based off of that. But no, not really what I want to do. Looks like we had a dip here. I wouldn't really consider it, but because it's just a random dip, I'm not gonna trade. I'm not gonna really do dip buys on these stocks, especially if it's a first day green day, just because I got burned on that other trade. So only something like this, which was a confirmed breakout, just didn't work out. Traded a small position. It was only a $3 loss, or $4 if you want to be exact. it was like a negative 1.4% loss. So I don't mind that at all. It just didn't go the way I want. It didn't continue the uptrend here. Immediately cut losses before it dropped significantly more below that price at 105. So LTNC, haven't really looked at it, but yeah, it looks nice because it kind of broke this level right here. Although we still have 86 as a high. We'll see how it goes on that level. That's pretty impressive. I learned a lot from that today. CEMI continues to fade, and AAGC is trying to uptrend. It's just sketchy. I don't know, the volume just isn't that good. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Nice trade attempt here, I think, with FTXP. I'll keep looking for more setups. LTNC is looking nice, but I'm not trying to chase it. I'll just look at it, really. I don't think I'll trade it unless I just see something amazing. Alright, it is 10:03 a.m. LTNC is breaking that 86.5 level, at least for now. I would consider it a bit of a chase considering the VWAP, the price action. It just seems like a bit of a chase, at least if you ask me, to buy this, even though it's breaking that previous high right here just a few days ago. So what I'll be doing is that I'll watch this. If it can make a nice spike and then it drops to that 86.5 and it holds, kind of like FTXP in theory, just kind of like a confirmed breakout setup where it breaks past 86.5, it runs a bit, drops back to that level, holds support, ideally big bidders holding that level. Then I'll consider a buy, because that'll be a confirmed breakout. That won't be just a random dip buy, and I just don't want to buy the breakout here because it might not last. It just seems like it might be overextended, if you ask me. Of course I can be completely wrong, but that's my mindset right now. And I also want to note that this strategy that I learned from Tim Lento, at a webinar, this is a confirmed breakdown VWAP short. So we have this right here where it breaks VWAP, it comes back, and then you short because it gets close to VWAP or at VWAP, or maybe even slightly above VWAP. But the idea is that it won't hold and break past this level, it'll stay under it. And this was exactly that. That's a great strategy. I just don't have I don't have the ability to short, so it's just a watch for now. But it's nice to see that work here. I don't think this is a setup that works with OTCs. I'll have to look. I think this is more of a listed stock play, but this clearly worked right here, a VWAP confirmed breakdown. So that's where I'm at right now. I'll keep looking at LT and see, and if this is all that it can run and then it drops to 6.5, it's not good. It'll just be a watch. Looks like it might. We'll see what this guy does, but right now I don't see anything I want to trade. Alright, it is 10:11 a.m. I'm not going to consider it, but I just think it's funny that this VWAP thing that I've been shitting on so long seems to be working. Only when it actually seems to work with the stock. Sometimes the VWAP is just chilling there. It's not really doing anything important. But to all the people who watch the VWAP, I guess it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. This could have been like a VWAP dip buy. I don't know. That just seems a bit too degenerate. Just kind of random trading. But we'll see exactly how it does. I obviously don't know everything about trading alongside with the VWAP, but it's just trying to learn from it. CEMI, nothing I want to trade. AAGC, nothing I want to trade. This one did do that VWAP hold, so there you go, from 93 to 98. Good job. FTXP is right around that range where I was interested in previously, again off of that previous high at 105. I don't want to buy it here, even though it could work out. The issue is that if I wanted to consider buying anywhere here, I would have wanted it to put up a higher high from this level, and we're just not having it. Even if it's like a big freaking antenna looking wick, I would like it just to put up some kind of a better price action or more volume to show that maybe it can continue an uptrend. It could obviously do it either way, but I just want there to be more odds, and I just don't see it. unless you want to consider like an inverse head and shoulders in this choppy mess, which I don't. So LTNC, it looks like it did do that VWAP dip buy, whatever you want to call it, at 82, but this is just degenerate scalping now at 83. I don't see any clear setups that I want to trade, just wanted to make a small update. Okay, it's 10:27, LTNC, I don't think I'll trade it, but this in theory could be some kind of a inverse head and shoulders possibility. Ideally, I would want to see a green candle or a consolidation candle. We don't have a big red candle or a big wick to risk off of, which is what I've learned on trading these things with NASDAQ. So I don't know how it applies very well with OTCs, but you know, if you have like a nice wick to risk off of or a nice big red candle and then it has like a consolidation candle afterwards, that's kind of like an entry for a buy. So we're not really there yet. It could continue to drop. It might want to touch the VWAP again. It's kind of impressive because it did drop here to that VWAP level and then it got to the 83s, but then it had this nice uptrend here to 87. So I'm gonna learn to not shit on the VWAP so much. I'll just have to consider it, maybe see how people's psychology might relate in terms of the overall movement of this VWAP. Maybe when the VWAP is here, right, and then it's over here, it has this nice drop, people are like, oh, this is getting closer to where I bought on average. Of course, it's a VWAP, so then they might consider dip buying, and that's clearly what happened here. This thing in theory could be inverse head and shoulders, but I don't like it anymore because it's right at the same level as this right here. Even though we have that wick, it could still do it. It's just low odds because it's also lower than what this potential shoulder would have been. This might not even be a perfect inverse head and shoulders. Might not even qualify as one, but yeah, it looks like we're getting that downtrend. We never had that big red candle or wick to risk off of. It could still do it, but it's not really nice when it's already below this level. Let's see this thing. It's touching the VWAP level. And that's the chair. I'm not farting around here. It's clearly trying to hold, but is it going to? I don't know. That was a pretty crappy candle open right there. CEMI, I'll ask Timlin. This looks more like an inverse head and shoulders. Not as nice, but this was clearly better. The only problem here is that this shoulder is much lower than this level right here. And it did have a neckline at 526. It might break past it. It broke past it. Sometimes it doesn't. But VWAP is going to be a level of resistance, I guess. I like how it's pushing it back. Anyway, no setup there, although that was kind of like an inverse head and shoulders. I wouldn't have traded it though, just because the shoulder is pretty much where the head is. You know, it's not the same level as this one. FTXP, again, didn't want to trade it because I wanted it to put up a higher high or some kind of price action, more volume to show that it could do it. It could uptrend. I might do it later, but you know, it was good not considering it there. I'll just keep watching LTNC. I don't have any setups. I guess I'll take a look at the biggest percent gainers right now for today and just get an update with that. But this is the state that I'm at right now. Okay, it's 10:53. LTNC continued to drop. Yeah, this was a shitty inverse head and shoulders. Wouldn't have traded it, not because it just, oh yeah, of course you weren't going to trade it, it didn't work. Well, no, because the shoulder here was lower than the head. Even if you wanted to play off the wick, it was right at the level of the wick. And on top of that, maybe it wasn't really a perfect one because it didn't really have a complete left shoulder either. So yeah, just no trades. Tim only traded twice today, so yeah, I'm just gonna have to take things pretty cautiously. Although everybody's talking about the overall markets doing bad or whatever, everybody's just scared of a reversal. I mean, if we look at SPY, it's like at its high, so it's kind of conflicting, but you know, it could go either way after all. Nobody really has a genie ball telling them what to do. XELB, I guess, is a VWAP hold. I'll have to keep looking at this thing if I should consider a VWAP hold or not. But something I did notice, although I don't know if it's an exact science, if this one worked too, but again with that Tim Lintel VWAP confirmed breakdown short setup, this one did it too. And this is a nice setup because I have constantly, before I joined a challenge, I've seen this constantly when I was primarily focused on NASDAQs until I realized I was wasting my time because they all just faded away and I'm not shorting them. I don't think I had a cash, not a cash, I don't think I had a margin account anymore. But this is another one, I like in theory, right? Market opens, cracks the VWAP level. I don't know why the VWAP on E-Trade only shows during the day, doesn't show during pre-market, but I'm going to guess it broke the VWAP, right? It got to the VWAP level right here and just rejected it. It went from 905 to 841 pretty easily before we had a green candle. Of course, you probably would have wanted to have covered here because it was support. I guess, was it support? Yeah, no, that's too far away. Yeah, would have been support here. Would not have been too bad to cover. Did spike again. Wait, did I confuse myself? Yeah, I confused myself right here. 840, because that would have been support here. Although I cracked it immediately, I guess followed by these two big red candles. Seems like another one of these VWAP confirmed breakdown setups. I'll be interested in that. If I see nothing really good with listed stocks, I could just short them. Like a lot of them do that. A lot of them fade the whole day. Although I'm going to stick with OTCs for now. But as soon as I'm able to, I'll get an account. I'll have a cash account for OTCs, I think, and I'll have a margin account so I can short listed stocks based off of that VWAP setup. It doesn't look bad at all. You might say this is a confirmed VWAP breakdown too if it stays below it, which it could do here with LTNC. It's already 10:56, so I'm going to take things very cautiously, just not really trying to trade right now unless it looks absolutely perfect. I'll probably call it off soon, but I do want to see what's going to happen here with LTNC. Okay, it's 11:08 a.m. It's already approaching midday. Nothing I really want to watch. I'm already working on my business work, so it's just gonna be a casual watch from here. Probably won't be any trades today, any more trades. XELB potential inverse head and shoulders, I'll be watching that. It's gonna have to do a nice spike back, ideally to the 380s if it wants to make a setup for me to trade. LTNC did that nice drop, kind of bounced, if it rejected at VWAP, I guess now it's at that level again. Not really something I want to trade here unless it just does some big mega 30% plus drop out of nowhere, which it might do, but it's not doing it now. Again, XELB, maybe inverse head and shoulders, but if it keeps selling off, ideally it would have held this 335 level. If it just keeps downtrending, that's too bad. Unless it spikes back later, I won't be interested in trading it, so that's where I'm at right now. Okay, it's 11:22. I'm going to call it off for today. XELB, I was watching it for a potential inverse head and shoulders, shoulder, head, shoulder, but it didn't make that shoulder. Here's a shoulder head, and it broke that level right here, so it's a no buy. Maybe I'll do one from here, but it'll be under the VWAP. It would have been kind of perfect if we had a shoulder, reversed out the VWAP, and then it drops, makes a head under the VWAP, breaks the VWAP, drops again, makes a shoulder over the VWAP. That would have been very nice, but we didn't get that here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Maybe I'll make the inverse head and shoulders here, shoulder, head, shoulder perhaps. So I'll keep watching, but I'm probably going to call it off. It probably won't be a setup. LTNC is doing some kind of sketchy triangle looking setup right here. Maybe I'll try to stay on this uptrend. So yeah, just going to call it off. No setups. FTXP, it looks like it did do another break towards that level, and this is, I would consider, a higher high, but it's already midday. It's not really the best time, So yeah, I'm just gonna call it off. Overall, a good trading day. Nice trade attempt here with FTXP. Nice spike, dip, and then a follow-up spike, holding that 105 breakout level right here. It didn't do it. Cut losses on the bad price action. The million share bidder was taking out 105. That wasn't really wanting to be there for that 105 break. So nice simple trade there. I'm gonna call it off. Maybe I'll make an update if I trade XCLB, but maybe not. You know, it depends on the setup. I doubt I'll play, and then we'll have major resistance at 350. So yeah, overall a good trading day. Gonna call things off right here unless it just happens to be a very nice setup with XCLB. Okay, it's 11:38. Yeah, XCLB didn't really work out. It's just the head is too wide now for me to consider it. But I wanted to record the show. This FTXP actually did it eventually. Again, this was my initial buy and sell right here. Just didn't like the price action. Saved myself from this big red candle if I wanted to risk off of a price level instead of price action. It did it eventually. I just didn't see it here. I did see this. I did see this nice higher high. I considered it a higher high, even though we have a higher wick here. This is better. Volume came back, and then we had that hold here at 105. The same idea I had just later. It happened later, midday. Not ideal in terms of the time, but we do see a lot of midday breakouts. Very nice. Eventually broke past that level here at 118. It was resistance, and now it's just continuing on. Just wanted to record this. Gonna call it off. I'm happy that my trade wasn't that bad. Maybe I was on the right track, just not at the right time perhaps. It happened later in the day. Nothing wrong with that, although I probably could have considered it again. I need to get good at that, just trying again. Small positions, small paper cuts, not mentally worrying myself out, just continuing on with these type of setups. So yeah, it's gonna call it off officially. Very nice movement, a lot of lessons learned. I look forward to rewatching this, and yeah, that's all I got.